Welcome to the GenGenesis Podcast, a fun place where Gen Z has a voice. My name is Valentina R, your host, who's 17, originally from sunny California, but right now I'm actually living in Argentina. First of all, I just want to talk about how all of this happened, why am I doing a podcast, and to basically define what this adventure it's all going to be about. After living in this peculiar global situation, I knew that I could not just sit cross-legged, waiting for this pandemic to be over, waiting for the day that I could say bye-bye to the virus to get my life back on track. And so I understood that this could actually be a time for innovation, creativity, and productivity. From an early age, I knew that I wanted to have an impact on this world, somehow, which I know may sound a little bit pretentious, but hey, that's me. And ever since I discovered and fell in love with podcasting, I started thinking that, maybe this was my chance. And so I had the idea of starting one, but for various reasons, I never got it done. Yet, at the same time, I'm a strong believer that everything should be done with passion and giving your 100%. And so if I didn't do it before, I guess it just wasn't meant to be at that time. However, this may sound a little bit cliche and overly repeated through the course of this year, but I mean, it is so true. We take things for granted. We take time for granted. Saying things like, you know what, no, I'll do it later. I still have time. But maybe there is no later. And so I stopped procrastinating. I don't know, it just felt like the right time to do it, not only for me, but especially for the listeners who hopefully will get something out of it. So the main idea of this podcast is to give Gen Z, for anyone who is not familiar with this term, it basically refers to the generation of people born between the late 90s, early 2000s, to give this generation a voice, a safe space, and to find the genesis of our current society and what it is made out of, the people, the problems, and also what we will do in the future as a generation. As we're young, we tend to be told things like, no, you shouldn't worry about this, you're too young, blah blah blah, or that we're not aware of certain issues, or that we're not fully committed to our communities, which from my point of view are certainly not accurate perspectives. During 2020, I met so many teens and young adults who started their own amazing projects and initiatives with fresh perspectives. Some were part of social movements, which made me feel so inspired by them because of how engaged they were with their communities. And actually, this is something that encouraged me to follow their path, to do something for the world. But I also took notice that all of these amazing things tended to be overlooked by our societies. With this podcast, I have the objective to get more people to know what Gen Z is made out of, what we're doing for our societies, and to create a new connection between people and the reality we face in a world where everything seems false or far away sometimes. I actually had a teacher who asked me and some of my classmates a few weeks ago, what new and positive things did we do during these tough times that we would not have done if the pandemic never existed? And that sparked something in me. I thought that it was super smart, sweet, and well-intentioned, to remind us of the bright side during a dark time. And regarding the podcast, yes, maybe I would have kept delaying it if it hadn't been for COVID. So now I will talk about how the episodes will play out. Fortunately, I have the bilingual tool that is part of my identity. So I had the idea that all the episodes should be both available in English and Spanish so that more people can enjoy them, but also to add more people, more diversity, and more inclusion into our conversations. So I will be uploading each episode on the GenGenesis Podcast official YouTube channel in video format with subtitles so that the true scent of the episode is not lost, but neither is its content. Episodes will alternate each week. That is that one episode, for example, will be in Spanish, the following one will be in English, next one in Spanish, and so on. Hopefully, we can all connect the world with this, as I firmly believe that I could be a communicational channel between different cultures thanks to languages and modern technologies. I want to let the voice of each one of you be heard. I just want people to know that we are all human beings, we share the same feelings and experiences, even though we're very different from each other, which is definitely the enriching part of all of this. The tone of the conversations will be semi-formal to have a casual and broad conversation, but at the same time have meaningful discussions. I want this to be fun and spontaneous, not really rigid or restricted. Basically, important matters in a fun style so that you can listen to them anytime, anywhere. I will always try to have at least one guest because I think that this is what society is all about. It's all about communication and about having different perspectives on the table. Now, who is this podcast for? Everyone who wants to learn about what is happening with Generation Z can join me on this journey and participate through active participation in our social media or even as a guest. It's for everyone who's eager to know more about the future generation and life from our perspective. I am open to have anyone who feels that they have something important to say. I want you all to know that your opinions and ideas matter to me and that actually the interactions and your participation is what will make this podcast a reality. In fact, the podcast will be more yours, the listeners, more than mine because it is built on yourselves. I'm just given a space for this to happen. The topics may differ, and this is exactly why I wanted it to be less structured. I've always been someone who loves learning in general, and especially from others, so I'm very excited about the talks that we are going to have on here. Now, to wrap up this trailer, I just wanted to say that I have a lot of faith in Gen Z for the future, because we are the future, and I am certainly looking forward to the amazing things we will do. So if you are already as excited as I am, make sure to watch out for episode 1. The release date is announced via social media, so remember to follow us on there and also to subscribe to the podcast in whatever platform you're listening this on to keep up to date with the podcast. And don't forget, you can always contact me via email or direct message on Instagram, even Twitter, if you want to be featured or if you have an idea that you think should be discussed on the show. I want to hear the voice of those who listen to me. Thank you very much for listening, and remember, use your voice.